And good morning. We are live on YouTube, but we're going to bring in our Facebook groups, and this has changed, Nick. I haven't done this one in a while. We're bringing in Atlanta Falcons fans on all Falcons, and we're going to bring in Scott Kennedy Sports, and hit save. And welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons Podcast, and I changed it up just a little bit this morning, so hopefully we are getting more notifications out to our Facebook friends because it didn't work so well last time, and we were really short on audience. We missed you guys. We missed you guys coming in on Facebook. So when you're coming in, hit that like and share button. I am Scott Kennedy, your host. This is Nick Kendell, my co-host today. I'm in Atlanta. He's in Seattle, so we are coast to coast with your Atlanta Falcons and NFL football talk today, and want to dig into some things. Falcons had a new signing. We'll preview some Bears and Falcons this weekend. We will also revisit, because we can't help ourselves, the 2021 NFL draft and what might have been with Justin Fields or Kyle Pitts or Micah Parsons, or however you wanted to look at that one. Some rookies that are playing very well, some Drake London talk, and then the Draft Network has one of their latest drafts out. So who do they have the Falcons taking? So a lot to unpack here, Nick. So welcome in. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty well. I can't complain too much. It's cold right now, but we're halfway through November and it's so dark. I leave for work, it's dark. I get home, it's dark. That's one of the negatives about the tilt of the earth and the Pacific Northwest. But, can't complain. Life's good and excited to talk some football with you guys. It would be nice if the Broncos could start scoring a little bit of points here. But, beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, I lived when I went to Auburn, which is right on the Georgia state line, which is the cutoff for Central Time Zone. So I'm basically grew up as far west in the Eastern Time Zone as you can get in Atlanta, and then was living as far east as you can get in the Central Time Zone in Auburn. And it would get dark. In the winter, it was dark at 4.
Yep.
4:30. If you had a 4:00 class, you were coming home in the dark. So, let me see here. And Kevin's coming in. He says, I'm on with YouTube. Facebook isn't up yet. Good morning, guys. So hopefully it's running now. I'm on Atlanta Falcons. Hey, let me hit that play button. It is playing. So we're glad you were able to find us here regardless. And Joe is in this morning on Facebook as well. So it's getting there. And I will laugh every time I look at that picture of Marcus Mariota that Joe uses for his profile picture. Marco Ranquillo in bright and early, the first one in this morning, says, good morning, Scott and Nick on the Falcons podcast. So good morning, Michael. We appreciate you being here. So the Falcons got some news yesterday. They signed a safety who had spent last year on the practice squad with the Kansas City Chiefs, named Devin Key, out of, I had it as UCF, but that doesn't sound right. He was out of Western Michigan. Was he the Hilltoppers? That sounds right. But he played 4 years there, played almost 50 games, started nearly all of them. Very physical, lots of tackles, hit the practice squad. So, not a guy I expect to see here on the field anytime in the near future, but always, good to see him coming in. Always good to see them working and trying to do stuff to address their team. Speaking of safeties, Nick, did you see who joined the 90 Club with the on Pro Football Focus last week from the Atlanta Falcons?
Was it Richie Grant?
Speaking of 2021 draft picks, Richie Grant. So he didn't stand out to me as having an outstanding game, but I wasn't keying on him like someone who was grading him. And I've said before, I think the Pro Football Focus guys for the Atlanta Falcons do a pretty good job. Basically what I see, and that's, unfortunately my ego talking, doesn't mean I'm wrong. What I see them grade fairly closely, so I think, okay, this guy's playing well. I look at their grade. Hey, he got a good grade. It's not always like that with PFF, where some guys look awful. And then, and Kevin says Facebook is up. Well, good. Well, spread the word, Kevin. Bring some, hit that like button and share and let some people know. But so Richie Grant having a 90 plus, joining the 90 Club, is good news for the Atlanta Falcons. Second year safety, kind of coming into his own. Gives me some hope for Rashad Fenton. What did Casey Hayward look like the first couple games he played? And he had all camp with the Atlanta Falcons and a Dean Pease defense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, all camp, and will be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm excited. I'm excited for the game this week too. I mean, after the horrible offensive output that we saw for the Falcons and my Broncos and my Hawkeyes this week, luckily the Bears coming. The Bears next on the schedule for the Falcons, and the Falcons. What would you put their over under on in this game? What would be acceptable? Is it 20, 26? I feel like the Bears have given up 30 plus points since the season started.
So the Bears over under in this game, I'd put it probably right around 50.
For the Falcons scoring, though. Just the Falcons.
For the Falcons scoring, I would say, 24-28.
Okay. That seems about right. So it should be a good get-right game. I'm curious to see who the quarterback ends up being. I think it'll end up being Mariota, but man, I feel like the pull to play Ritter, if he's struggling and you see Justin Fields on the other side doing amazing plays, is going to be pretty darn strong.
I just don't think I think I said it almost word for word doing my Arthur Smith impression on Monday of what he was going to say when the question came up, and I think I got it almost spot on. I meant to look it up and I was going to play it again. It's like, hey, listen, we're right in the middle of this thing. We're right. We're in the playoffs. There is no quarterback controversy. There isn't one, and that's what he said. There is no situation. He's not going to say anything different publicly, but I just really feel like, until they drop out of it, and Tampa's going to have to win a couple games. The Falcons are one game out of first place with Marcus Mariota as their quarterback. There aren't going to be any drastic changes. And Michael Rothstein, or I think it was Rothstein. I don't think it was Scott Bear. Rothstein works for ESPN. Bear works for the official site. I think it was Rothstein. He says, for all y'all calling for Ritter, what makes you think he would be the better option? You think he'd be the better option right now. What makes you think that? And see, for me, that's kind of leading the witness. That's the wrong question to ask. Is if you had started with Ritter, where would he be now? And because we know where Marcus Mariota is, we know where he's going to be, we know where he's going. And frankly, it's probably not good enough for a team with playoff aspirations. Can Ritter be that guy? Now you're thinking we're trying to win ball games here. We're trying to win every game. Okay, well, you're 4-6. Okay. Yeah, you're a game out of the playoffs, but you're 4-6. So it's not like you're piling up the wins with Marcus Mariota. You've got a worse winning percentage than you did last year. So where would Ritter be at the end of the season to start next year? That's the question. Not is he better right this second, because probably not. He's a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
But could you possibly have been 4-6 right now with an ascending quarterback if you had started? You weren't going to start with Ritter. I get that. But let's say you made that move week 8 with the Carolina Panthers. You went 1-2 with Mariota starting. Could you have gone 1-2 with Ritter starting and have him on the ascendancy, where after 3 or 4 games with that under his belt, where he is better than Marcus Mariota?
It's possible. Just to say that, you never know. Maybe he gets hurt. There's always it's the counterfactual, right? We're trying to project or redo the past.
That's what we do here.
Yeah, that's true. That's God bless. I think the big thing is, though, nobody expected the Falcons team to be this feisty. And it probably, when you're stringing along wins like that and the NFC North or NFC South is this bad, you just kind of got to keep rolling with what's working, even if it's pretty obvious at this point the offense is limited with Mariota. It's been more or less doing enough to outpace expectations. So maybe Ritter would be further along. Maybe you'd have the evaluation of him. Maybe you'd be 4-6 and be like, okay, Ritter's probably not the guy. Now we're closer to picking a quarterback. But here we are. Mariota's been fine. What do you call it when somebody's like holding on to like a position of power or a throne, but they're not really the person in charge? You know the word I'm talking. Okay, that's not really.
He's a puppet of sorts, but that's probably not what you're looking for.
No, it's either way. He's just caretaking right now the position for whoever's next. You're just kind of idling along until it's somebody else. But last game was the first one where I'm like, yeah, Ritter can't be this bad. Ritter can't be making this many poor decisions. And while Ritter's not incredible in the drop back pass game, I think he's more of a full field reader. And I think he'd give some of those deep throws a little bit better chance, because some of those deep throws were just god awful. And I'm saying this 100% biased as a Kyle Pitts fantasy owner. Like, come on, come on.
Yeah, and for me, some of those with Kyle Pitts, it's not even the deep throws; it's the drags. Coming, a little drag route coming across the middle, a quick slant, and you're skipping it to his feet. This guy's got, a reach. It was well documented of a pterodactyl. It's the longest wingspan of anybody since they've been measuring, like for 30 years. It was like 82 inches or something, almost 7 feet, almost a full 7 feet. So what was I just looking up? If you look at, if you're looking at stats and whatnot, however, lame duck. And Albert Knopper is coming in. Good morning, Albert. Appreciate you joining us in over on Facebook. Hope you are doing well this morning. Depending on which stats are stats, lies and statistics, those type of things. If you follow the QBR, which is ESPN's way of trying to redo the quarterback rating, Marcus Mariota's 9th. He's 9th in the NFL. I think they probably do a better job of putting in the rushing, which is becoming more and more important in today's game. Because right behind him is Marcus Mariota, then Derek Carr, then 11 is Justin Fields. Where if I sort by passer rating, because that's what it is actually. It's passer rating and then quarterback rating. But passer rating, I go down and I find it takes me a long while to find Marcus Mariota, but he's at 14, so not too bad. But again, his attempts are so low. He's being put in very, very good situations. For the most part, easy passes, a lot of rollouts, a lot of play action, a lot of gimmies. So, wow. Here in Albert coming in with some news. He says, I will be a grandpa again today, number 12. Good for you, man. That's a lot of grandkids.
Yeah. God bless.
That's a lot of grandkids. I made my parents, I was an only, so I doubled mine. My parents have two grandkids.
It's all about those prospects, but congrats, Albert. That's amazing. 12. I mean, God, you got keep pushing there, and you'll be fielding 2 football teams. Be awesome. You already are over 1. You can rotate a running back
both ways
back there or something. Yeah, exactly.
But Marcus Mariota by the stats has been okay. Marcus Mariota to the eye test has been, again, he would be one of those if you had a line that went through the line chart. If you drew a line, it would be okay. It'd be fairly steady. It'd be okay. He's about mediocre. But the problem right now is the consistency. Yeah. He has a really good game and then a really bad game, and then a really good game and then a really bad game and then an okay game. So overall numbers are okay, but it's really been up and down for him. The consistency hasn't been there. And frankly, with a system tailored for him, Nick, with a coach who's familiar with him, he's not a new guy in the league, 7-8 years in the league. This is what we're going to get. I don't see it getting much better.
Yeah, they're trying to protect him as much as possible by not overexposing him. And while I am very much a proponent of the quarterback run game, it's a great tool if you can have it, and that's part of what makes the offense tick, no doubt. He's not really a dynamic runner at the same time. I mean, you can watch, I'm talking a level of Josh Allen, because of his size, can be a dynamic runner. Lamar Jackson, no dip, dynamic runner. Mm-hmm. Justin Fields coming up this week, dynamic runner. So Fields running is part of the offense, and no doubt it's part of what makes him a serviceable quarterback. But not to the extent where it can overcome the inconsistency in the timing and the drop back game that's severely lacking in Atlanta right now. Probably a bottom 10 drop back passing team in football. Luckily, the scheme has been so good with the run game that they've been able to overcome that. But at some point, especially with this defense, if you're looking to take that next step, you have to have a drop back pass game to stay in some games, push your way forward, and compete.
How much different is what Ritter did at Cincinnati? How much RPO did he do where, hey, we're trying to win games, Ritter's not ready? Is that because you'd run a different, not a drastically different, but you definitely call different plays, where you'd run a different offense for Ritter, where you would do things enough differently that you're not really getting him the work in this offense to suit his best talent levels as much? Because Desmond Ritter's fast. He was the fastest guy. We want to talk about Malik Willis is a better runner. No doubt about that. He's got more wiggle, more side to side, but straight line speed, Ritter can fly. He's a 4.5 guy. But that doesn't necessarily mean he is a good runner or a good option quarterback. There's a difference between being fast and being able to run. And I don't know how well Ritter does the latter.
He can pull it down and take off for a first down if you want, but he's not really a dynamic runner. I think he doesn't really have much pop. Like if he's an open lane, he'll be fine, but he's not going to make a guy miss in the hole. He's not going to step through a tackle. He's not going to get around an arm tackle too often, unless it's extremely weak, like in the pocket. Like he can do some of that, but again, it's not the level where you can base an offense completely around it as him as a running threat. It can be a bailout option, but not something where like he's been a horrible quarterback so far, but Malik Willis runs like a running back, right? Like it's not like he's an additional running back in the backfield.
No, he's a wildcat. He's a wildcat quarterback
right now, for sure.
Not a passer.
Yep. Or like you have coming out in this upcoming draft, Anthony Richardson at Florida, who we'll see if he comes out or not. He's a redshirt sophomore, I believe, and he's probably one of the best athletes in terms of physical tools of like. I mean, you put him up there with Josh Allen, Justin Fields as far as tools, but he is super raw. He needs reps galore, but he's been improving, and he probably is going to run a 4.4 40 at about 6'3", 240. He got some tools, and that guy you can actually function off of a runner while you hopefully nurture his pass game. I mean, whoever drafts him needs to see what the Eagles are doing with the Hurts, see what the Bears have been doing with Fields recently, and copy paste that to a tad. But Ritter's not that quarterback. Honestly, I think with Ritter, I'd like to have a little bit more underneath options for him to get the ball as well. Somebody who's like a quick, static kind of receiver, maybe even a Calvin Ridley type, just to give him a go-to option in man coverage. Because I feel like in zone, he can slice and dice you up. He can run if it's there for him. But a lot of times in man, I don't know if you guys have that man beater right now, so to speak, that's going to generate a lot of space in the pass game that he can cling on.
The man beaters back right now are okay. My guy's bigger than yours. And AE, welcome coming in on YouTube. Appreciate you being here. Dom also as well says good morning, Scott, Nick, and Dog Nation. The man beater right now is size. I've got a couple of guys, and there Kyle Pitts is listed at 6'6", and Drake London at 6'4". When they walk out there, their helmets are level. Drake London's huge. He's big. So they're very, very similar in size. And look who's coming in, our buddy Bama X with the $20 super, coming in nice and orange. Love it, man. Appreciate your support today. As a reminder, like Bama X, if you like what you're doing, want to see more, keep us going, keep the lights on, keep the internet streaming. A great way to support this is with super chats or stars on Facebook. So appreciate you coming in, Bam X. Got anything you want to know? Because we're going to be starting to talk draft here very, very soon. We'll start to pivot one of these shows. We do two. We'll start to pivot one of them to draft because Nick and I both love the draft, frankly.
Yeah.
But yeah, your man beaters right now, Nick, are basketball players. Yep. Kyle Pitts and Drake London.
And neither of which are really excellent route runners. They're good athletes. They're young. They're probably fine at route runners for their size, but that's not like their calling card. Like if they had a Madden trait or whatever they call it with this special talent, route running would not be one of them. So
separation.
That's it. I haven't played.
I don't know what they call it, but how you get good separation. Neither one of them are, and they don't have to be special. They don't have to get good separation because they are so much bigger and stronger than anybody that's going to be covering them. Roderick Cook coming in on YouTube saying afternoon all. Good afternoon, Roderick. And Steve Kennedy coming in says, good morning, gentlemen. Who's that little guy right there? That's been a while because that little guy is looking you in the eye right now. Saying good morning, gentlemen. So, revisiting before we dive into the Chicago Bears Atlanta Falcons game, we'll take a look at their quarterback Justin Fields. The earlier returns last year weren't great for the quarterback position, despite it being a good class. And frankly, of the four guys we've seen and the one we haven't in Trey Lance, so there were five, I think, that went in the first round. I think the returns after a year and a half on three of them have been okay. Trevor Lawrence is good, and Justin Fields is starting to round into shape. Mac Jones is okay. He was drafted later. And Zach Wilson, I'm not sure about.
Yeah. Zach Wilson hasn't been good. My quarterback ranking in that draft class was, I believe it was Lawrence number 1, Fields number 2, Wilson number 3, Lance 4, and then Mac 5. I'm a tools guy. I think you got to have it, and I'd rather swing and miss on a tools guy than hit for a single with he's cerebral, but he can't move in the pocket and he doesn't have a good arm. Sorry, you're seeing the limitations right now with Mac Jones. You got to bring a little bit extra to the table, be a playmaker, not just a distributor back there, in my opinion, in today's NFL.
Yeah, but, and even if it's not the arm strength, then what's the release? How quick can you get the ball out? Your processing, that stuff can all be elite in quarterback play, is the quick release and being able to deliver the ball from several different angles, that type of thing. You don't necessarily have to be a runner, but you do have to have the arm. When I saw Mac Jones at the Senior Bowl, and I watched him at Alabama, but then I watched him at the Senior Bowl. I'm like, all right, this guy, I think he's got a chance to sneak into the back end of the first. Maybe this is someone, because I was an advocate for the Falcons trading down. I knew how many holes they had. We all did. Trading out of that 4 spot, and by God, if they could have gotten the deal from the 49ers that the Dolphins did, I would have bitten your hand off for that deal, which was 2 extra first-round picks. So the Dolphins got 3 first-round picks for that spot that the Niners used for Trey Lance at 3, and then the Falcons' story of their lives were at 4.
And only to move down to 12 too, which is not very far. They'd be 4 to 12, right?
Because that was the Bears actually made a pretty aggressive move to move up and take Justin Fields. I was an advocate for trading down first. But then I was very adamant about taking Justin Fields, knowing that you could get out from Matt Ryan's contract after a year. You could try at least, or at least after 2 for sure. And that would be a good time to have him mentor Justin Fields. No pressure, because you weren't going to be very good while you're digging out from this salary cap. And then you got your franchise quarterback. The early returns were good. People are impatient. Justin Fields looks terrible. Mac Jones is the only one that looks any good. Trevor Lawrence is a bust. Well, you know what? They go to bad teams, and they're starting to round into shape a little bit. And Justin Fields is playing some pretty good football right now.
Yeah, and also exceedingly young. That's something as well. Some of these quarterbacks come in. I think Mac Jones is 24, 25 years old already. Justin Fields is 22. So way less, years. I mean, probably as many reps, but I think the age does count when you're taking somebody that is that young. So Justin Fields is coming to age. He's definitely very turnover prone right now in a lot of his plays. One of the reasons the Bears lost that game against the Lions is because Justin Fields threw a pick 6. Now, would the Bears even have been in that game without Justin Fields? Probably not. Live by the sword, die by the sword in that regard. But he's really coming to age, and this is a game where, given what we just witnessed on Thursday night with the Falcons' run defense, I would be very nervous because it's not the big running back, your linebackers and defensive linemen and safeties have to bring their big boy pants to tackle a 240-pound running back. But Justin Fields makes you guard the whole field, not just vertically because the arm talent and the shots that they're taking with Claypool and Cole Kmet, 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games or something. But also he makes you guard the whole field horizontally, the rushing lanes, the quick pass, the RPOs. And also you have to stay on your guys. You think a play is done normally. I don't know if you watched this last Bears game very much, but there was a 3rd down where he made a rushing touchdown that was unbelievable. It was only a 5-yard run, but he was in the backfield and scrambled out and made a couple guys miss and then dove into the end zone and bowled 3 guys over. I don't know if I want my quarterback doing that in a season like this, but still, tell me that guy doesn't want it. So he's a really unique player. I think the closest comp you can have right now for him as far as how you have to play against him is probably Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. I think Lamar was better in the pocket and decision making, but Lamar, terrible accuracy coming out until that MVP season. And I don't think we talk enough about how much Lamar's accuracy improved, but he's a unique weapon and he's really tough to play. It's kind of like, I'm on a rant now, but it's kind of like in high school when the best athlete on the field is playing quarterback and he's out there just doing things. It's like, well, that hasn't really been the case in the NFL since, the Leatherhead days. But with Justin Fields, you're kind of starting to see that again.
Yeah, and I agree with in high school you see that a lot. The best athlete on the field is the quarterback. And then they play safeties or wide receivers typically when they move on, which happens a lot. Or cornerback. Eric Berry was a quarterback. Phenomenal quarterback, option quarterback. Got some good highlights of him up on my channel actually. Kevin Fitzpatrick says there seems to be a book developed on how to beat the Falcons. Without some offensive changes, I'm not encouraged about the rest of the season, regardless of the schedule. And Kevin, I think those changes would probably have to be personnel. And we're talking quarterback, aren't we? Because the book to beat the Falcons is contain the running game and make Mariota beat you throwing the ball from the pocket. That's a thin book. It's not taking an encyclopedia. Okay, you better do this, and if they adjust to this and do it, no, it's hem him in, contain the running game, and make him beat you downfield from the pocket. Can he do it? Sometimes he can, sometimes he can't, and one of the reasons why the Falcons are hovering around 500. And the fact that they're hovering around 500 is still, to me, way overachieving. Don't get me wrong. But Marcus Mariota is getting good money. He's $12 to $14 million. And I think you expect a little bit more than what you're getting, a little bit more consistency than what you're getting, which is why some of the cries for Desmond Ridder are getting louder and louder and louder. Lose the Bears. Let me see. I think the Falcons are favored in this game. Is that 3 out of 4? The Falcons are 3-point favorites. And what did I say the over-under was?
50?
It's 50.
Nice. Good job.
It's 50. That's why I have trouble betting. I'm like, that's good. If I see something completely out of whack, like Titans and Broncos with a 40 over-under when both of them are going to score, 12 points, that's a 2-touchdown difference between what I think. This one I hit dead on. So, 26-24 makes sense. 27-23, yeah. 28-21, okay. All those are right in the neighborhood of where I think this game's going to be. But yeah, in order to change how this offense plays, you're going to have to change a quarterback. Don't you think, Nick, to open up the playbook a little bit for a little bit more downfield passing? The thing is, we see some of it opening up, and he's just not hitting those guys.
Yeah. And this last game specifically really leans into that theory that we are the offensive line, building an offensive line. It's the weak man discussion, where if you can have 4 really good players, and obviously that helps a lot. But if you have one guy who is just getting ragdolled out there, the entire offense is going to cease to function, and the unit's going to look bad. So Colby Gossett, bless his heart, at left guard, didn't belong out there against Derek Brown, and he got killed, and it made the whole offense kind of go into a spiral.
Well, and then, Derek Brown had his way with everybody wherever he lined up, because, he walked around Chris Lindstrom too, and Chris Lindstrom been playing pretty good. But Drew Dahlman, just watch a series. We would like to ball watch, so we're not always watching the line of scrimmage. But just if you're listening to this, just watch a series, watch a center. Drew Dahlman gets knocked back 3 to 5 yards instantly, right off the snap every time. If it's pass blocking, then he's backing up already. If it's run blocking, that initial jolt off the line, he's getting knocked backwards 3 yards. And a stretch play off tackle then becomes a sweep, because you can't take that direct route to go off the right tackle, to go off the tackle or between the guard and the tackle. That stretch play is done. Anything between the guard and the center, anything up the middle, is in trouble, because your line of scrimmage has been reset. To have 2 guys like that, you have last year's offensive line, because the center wasn't good, but wasn't as big a problem, because your left guard and Jalen Mayfield was so bad, and Caleb McGarry played terribly as well. But yeah, you can see that for sure. Marco Z coming in on YouTube, love that dog. Says Justin Fields is playing like we all hoped Mariota would play this year. I agree with that. Now, Justin Fields, what are his numbers so far this year? Rushing, he's rushed for 300 yards in the last 2 games. I didn't expect that. out of Mariota. What's his rushing on the season? He's got to be knocking on the door of some records, I would think. I remember Michael Vick broke 1,000 yards, which was a record at the time.
He's on
That's
pace to
probably been
obliterate.
bested, but I'm not sure. But Justin's at 750 right now.
He's on pace to obliterate the all-time quarterback rushing single season record that was set by Lamar Jackson just a few seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's doing fine. He's playing well. You still have a ways to go, I think, in the pass game for him to become a successful quarterback long term. But I mean, even without the pass game succeeding, his or succeeding to a great extent, the rushing game is opening things up for them in the pass game. They're getting better, more static looks. The run lanes for the running backs are more open, and he is improving steadily but surely. I mean, one of the things that you and I both loved about Justin Fields coming out was the accuracy coming out. It's not just, he's throwing the ball and it's, hitting the sideline on half the reps. He was super accurate. It's more the processing, the full field reads, and learning to play within the pocket, the subtle movements within structure versus the, okay, it's not there, put my foot in the ground and run. Unfortunately, the Bears not unfortunately, but it seems like the Bears have kind of leaned away from that a little bit with way more designed runs and letting Justin Fields be Justin Fields. He's going to have to develop into a guy who becomes more of that pocket quarterback. But this is what I've always said about quarterbacks like Justin Fields or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Anthony Richardson coming out, or Jalen Hurts. That athleticism early on is a crutch. Now, can it develop some bad habits? Potentially, but at least it's a get out of jail free card early on when you're getting those live reps that you're not getting on the bench. And then over time, hopefully you can improve those things and continue to work on them. I mean, most of your work and improvement, besides the live experience and reps, comes in the off season. So hopefully like the feel, the pace, reading the guys, the chemistry, that most of that work will be done in March through August, and then you'll have the live reps again. But I love to have that athleticism to fall back on because, again, it's a get out of jail free card. And on top of that, Scott, you'll roll your eyes at this one, but it's about scheme. Also, I think in today's NFL, with how much teams are playing too high safety looks and with how much teams are emptying the box, having a quarterback that can consistently make teams uncomfortable and have to play cover 3, have to play base, have to play cover 1, is great because that's how you're getting explosive plays down the field. Teams right now, defenses, thanks to Vic Fangio, are doing everything in their freaking power to take away the explosive pass plays by playing 2 deep safety sets. You know what's making that hard to do? A dynamic running quarterback. I bet you the Falcons this year, probably one of the top 10 teams in terms of single high safety looks because of what they're doing in the running game. And that's resulting in explosive pass plays that are there for the taking.
Yeah, so 150 yards of passing per game for him. So, I think you're running a cloud. You're going to see maybe 3 linebackers out there. Or, in this case, defensive backs, because he's going to outrun most of your linebackers is the thing. So, do you have an extra defensive back that comes in and he's your nickel player? Richie Grant, I wouldn't mind Richie Grant closer to the line of scrimmage. I'd rather have him closer and keeping an eye on the run game than I'm worried about Justin Fields beating me with the passing game.
I think it's a Troy Anderson spy game. I think I know that he's not as athletic as Fields, but if he can stay on top of him with, you have the angle if you are 10 yards difference.
He's not far off either, though.
Yeah, exactly. And also
30 pounds heavier. And if he gets a couple shots on there, Fields will slow down
100%. And given with angle, considering where he's at, he should be able to close the space. Also, quarterback spy. Tell him not to take the cheese in the run game. Yes, you're conceding a little bit to the running back, but the explosives aren't coming from the non-Fields running game. The Khalil Herbert was just put on IR for the Bears this week, so they have David Montgomery, who's a really powerful back. Hurts me to say because he's an Iowa State guy. Why can't those Iowa State running backs come to Iowa? But Justin Fields is where the explosives are coming from. So I say don't take the cheese. Don't worry about the jet sweeps to Darnell Mooney. You're going to have to let the other guys do that. It's real simple for you. See that number 1? He doesn't get past you. If he does, it's your job to make sure that doesn't happen.
Give up the 5. Don't give up the 50 going for the -5.
Yep.
It's okay if they're not going to beat you going 5 yards at a time. If they're going to beat you, if like you said, take the cheese and he's going the other direction, and he's gone.
Yep.
Yeah, like we talked about, I think on Monday, wouldn't mind me to have, the brackets. If I'm worried about Troy Anderson going the wrong direction, well, I'll just limit him to one side of the field, and I've got Rashaan Evans, or I run Richie Grant up there. I run a base nickel, something like that with four down in the front. My other linebacker ends up being Richie Grant. Okay, Rich, you got this side of the field. Troy, you got this side of the field. If he goes wide, if he comes up the middle, I want you both to hit him. And then you can, cover underneath. But the passing game certainly doesn't scare you yet. One of the things, going back to Justin Fields, that convinced me, coming out of Georgia, he was over in Kennesaw, goes to the University of Georgia, and then leaves. Well, obviously, there's going to be a lot of negative talk about the guy who's leaving him. They left. Oh, he can't compete. He's not tough enough. Blah blah blah. When James Skalski about cut him in half with a shot to the ribs in that game it was a semifinal of the college football playoffs, and he comes in and still's throwing the ball 60 yards on a dime for passes. I'm like, toughness, okay, done. I'm good. This kid's tough. And you mentioned it again at the beginning of the show, Nick, where you said, he beats these guys, dives over three people, gets in the end. Maybe I don't want him taking those hits. And I get that. I do. I agree with you. But you know who that's going to fire up, and you know who's going to be on his side? His teammates. That's leadership. And the tools are obvious. The tools are absolutely obvious. I mean, he's fast. His arm is fantastic. He throws the ball on the well run. He's robo quarterback. So but who else was? Jamarcus Russell.
He wasn't.
Can he play the position? Can he be a quarterback? I know he's a runner and thrower. That much I know. But can he play quarterback? Can he do all the other things? And the answer to me, watching him play, finishing up at Ohio State, was yes, absolutely. And I think he's running into that position. I did a Bears podcast, and I asked him about this because, we're draft guys. And I asked him, I said, what did you see this year? And they said it was almost criminally negligent how they handled Justin Fields last year. I said, it sounds to me like your head coach didn't want a quarterback and basically took it out on Justin Fields. They're like, you hit it. You named it right on the head. Mm-hmm. Let me see here. I want to say good morning to some folks who have come in. Mark Turner's come in. Says, morning, guys. Only one word today, accuracy. Yeah, both sides for sure. He asked a question. He says, off subject, do you think Mike Vick should be in the Hall of Fame because he changed the quarterback position?
I think it's going to be really hard given the years that he missed in the league, and nobody wants to hear that. I'm not going to go down the path of all that off the field stuff, but I think given the overall body of work with the volume, it's probably not going to happen. Also, the PR backlash the league would probably face from something like that, I can't imagine it happening. But no doubt he did change the quarterback position. And to get that level of athlete out there, he somewhat, I think he defined an era somewhat, and also he did change the quarterback. I don't think
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, okay. If we go back, and that's where for me, AE is like, he doesn't necessarily change position. He may have been a little bit more athletic than the people in front of him. Roger Staubach, Fran Tarkington, Randall Cunningham, Steve Young. These guys were all dynamic runners and throwers. Dynamic. Roger the Dodger, for goodness sakes. Fran Tarkington, look up some of his highlights. The guy, he was incredibly mobile. Randall Cunningham. We know about Randall Cunningham. Now, was Mike Vick a better runner than those guys overall? Yeah, probably. But he wasn't the passer that any of those four were. So did he change it? No, I don't think so. Did he do the running aspect of it better than anyone that had come before him? Probably.
I think
he
did
deserve to be in the Hall. I don't know. I don't know if he's got the numbers there to back that up.
I think he did change the course a bit, though. It probably influenced a lot of young athletes to play quarterback. Probably changed a lot of minds of coaches. Like, okay, we don't have to have this Drew Bledsoe style of quarterback to work in the NFL.
Some of that's been natural with baseball. Honestly, I've said this a zillion times. Yeah. It used to be in the South. It used to be a lot of wing tees and everything, and it's gone more spread because you can do 7v7s all year. Football became a year-round sport with the passing leagues and all that type of stuff. But
also EPA shows that passing the ball is far more efficient and explosive than rushing the football. Yep.
Yeah, the rules have changed. Yep. But I think, I've said this a zillion times. Why is quarterback play so bad now? And it is. It's the throwing of the ball is as low as it's been in a long time, considering all the rule changes. When you're running guys out there that look like they do, and you're like, are you joking me? Like I've said 100 times, I'll say it again if it's your first time listening. Go back to the last 10 years and look at last 15 years. Look at Major League Baseball drafts. Okay, in the first 2 rounds, you're going to see 30 guys that are 6'3 plus that say either LHP or RHP, left-handed pitcher, right-handed pitcher, that are 6'3 plus. There's your big arms. They're playing baseball because there are now 15 guys on a roster times 30-something teams. That's 450 guys in the majors. The concussions and injuries have all taken their toll on the quarterback position as well. Just because of, if I'm an elite athlete with an elite arm and could be a Division I guy and I got a choice between baseball and football, more guys are choosing baseball right now because of the longevity, the opportunity, the safety, all of those things. So for me, baseball has changed the way football is played more than the success of Michael Vick or Randall Cunningham or anything like that. So,
yeah, I won't fight you too much on that. For sure. That there's, I think basketball too, gaining even more and more popularity since the Jordan days.
Basketball's always been huge though. It's just, God, it's so hard. I think the NBA is the hardest league the hardest professional league in the world to make. I mean, when you've got to put in a rule that says you have to sign your first round draft pick, I mean, people are dying to trade away first round draft picks if they're not in the top 5. We don't want those guys. They can't play.
Yeah.
It's, there's 12 men, there's 12 guys on a team, and it's the hardest. There's so many people that play basketball. It's such a great sport. Again, I like it though because there are more opportunities to earn a living as opposed to the NFL.
Basketball just makes me cry because I see, a 6'5" guy slashing and I'm like, that was a pass rusher in a different life. That guy could have been an incredible edge
These
rusher.
6'3" shooting guards, I'm like, you're big. I can get you scholarship money tomorrow. I promise you.
Yeah. God. Ugh. All right. Good. Big Al coming in here with the American flag and the deer logo there. Got a hunter here. And Big Al, I'm guessing, saying, good morning, gentlemen. Good morning to you, Big Al. Hope you're doing well. Happy hump day.
Yep. Good morning, Big Al. Thanks for being here. And Joe Cannon says, I completely agree. We're going back to the spy talk. Anderson should be the quarterback spy all game long. I can live with that. Absolutely. He is a mid 4.4s guy with good 240 pounds with good side to side, good lateral movement. Absolutely, Joe. Clee coming in. Good morning, Clee. Appreciate you being here. Fields was playing in the NFL like he did during the Northwestern playoff games. Chicago has offensive weapons like Denver. Awful. Yeah, I don't remember what all that we got into it, but it's just like they didn't address the offensive line. They didn't go after wide receivers. They basically just hung them out to dry last year. And like I said, I think the phrase that my Bears friends used in the media was like almost criminally negligent was how he was treated. I was like, oh, you got a new coach then, didn't you? And they're like, yeah. Roderick says, this is why I watch you guys. Scott, you're dead right, talking about the transitioning of sports and where the athletes are going, because even 10 years ago, after all the concussions started getting talked about, participation at the youth level in football was down 10%. It hasn't gotten better. It hasn't improved. There is, as a dad of a pretty damned good athlete myself, my 13-year-old is big, fast, and strong. And I get some of that, envy out there because playing football is different than playing any other sport. Football players are just treated differently. They just are seen as the rock stars. If you're a good football player, it's different than being a good baseball player, a good soccer player. Basketball might be a little different, but it's definitely different. He's not going to be a basketball player. It's different than soccer, baseball, it's football. And I know how good he'd be. And it's just, I'm like, I want him to get out there and show it. And then every game I watch, people are getting pulled off on carts, and my friend, I've mentioned him before. He's got a son that's he played offensive lineman in the league for about 8 years. And his son is every bit as athletic. Him and my son are neck and neck. Spencer's probably about 20 pounds. So he's a 7th grader. He's 5'10", 160 pounds and can fly smooth. And I said, and he only plays baseball and basketball right now. And I said, hey, you going to let him play football? He goes, maybe in high school. He goes, I see the kids out there. I know what he would do. And, he'd run ragged over these guys and they'd run him into the ground and he'd always be sore and he'd always be beat up. So that tells me a lot about the ego of this. He knows how good he would be, and that's why he doesn't want him out there. I'm like, okay, I can learn a little bit. I can learn a little bit from him. So anyway, sorry for the rant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's frustrating. So we got Abel coming in. Fields and Mariota numbers are pretty similar. I mean, Fields played pretty poorly the first few games of the season, and then I think from that New England game on, something clicked. So if you look at the last 4 games, probably not pretty similar. Also, I will say the overall system and infrastructure around Fields, while it's not, or around Mariota, while it's not amazing, you're probably still trying to figure out the offensive line long-term in a drop-back pass game, injuries at running back, and you have 2 lottery picks at wide receiver. Significantly better than what the Bears are dealing with Justin Fields. That offensive line has maybe one guy right now that you like long-term, and they do have Darnell Mooney, who's kind of a gadget guy, and they traded for, who did they trade for? The wide receiver from the Steelers, who just by being there has opened up the offense a bit. But this is why you need to watch the tape and look at the overall system, in my opinion, versus just the raw data.
And their passing numbers are pretty similar. Now Fields has flown by him on the rushing numbers, but as Nick was saying, and I'll just put it in a different way, is Fields' numbers are on the ascendancy. His numbers are on the way up. He's improving. I don't know that we can say the same about Marcus Mariota. And again, got a 23-year-old second-year quarterback. He's supposed to improve. He's supposed to go this way. So going back to the question from Michael Rothstein is, what makes you think that Desmond Ridder is better right now than Marcus Mariota? It's not that he's better right now, this second. It's how long would it take, and is it possible for him to pass for their lines? If Ritter's here right now, and for those of you listening after the fact, I got a low hand and then a high hand for Marcus Mariota, and I go along a timeline, when does Ridder cross? Is it this year? 2-3 games? 2-3 years? Now? Those are the questions, that we ask. We don't have the answers for. Again, it might be obvious in practice that Ridder ain't it. It might be. And we'll find that out in the draft and free agency, won't we, Nick?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. You'll figure it out here pretty soon, and will be fun. And I guess we got to ask the question here before we wrap it on up. Knowing what we know now, who would you take, Scott? And John Pope coming in saying, I don't think Mariota is improving. He keeps making the same mistakes. Mariota is who he is right now. I guess, if anything, he's on the other end of the roller coaster, and you could see injuries and whatnot start to take away some ability from him, but don't see him improving markedly. And I thought of the word, Scott. It's a steward. Steward is the person who takes care of the throne or
a caretaker.
Yeah. Yep. So I did little Lord of the Rings, Return of the King in there, the steward of Gondor. But right now, Mario is the steward of the quarterback position in Atlanta. Is Ridder the heir apparent? 3rd round pick would say probably not, but he's still talented enough where, you might figure out something there down the stretch here. It really comes down. If Mariota wants to keep playing, win the game. If the more you win, the longer you are still in legit contention in the NFC South, the longer you're going to see Mariota out there. But if they keep losing and the offense keeps looking this defunct, eventually you're going to be out of it. And then it's, okay, we're in evaluation right now. We're in development right now. We have a top 15 pick in the draft. We could easily get into the top 5 if we really wanted to go get a quarterback. There's 4 quarterbacks right now that seem like they have first-round hype. Something to consider. And we got Bama X coming in saying John Mariota is what he is at this point in his career. Oh, yeah, John Mariota is what he is.
He's responding to John. And that's the thing. It's like, is he good enough? I know, again, it's the fool's gold. You say don't take the cheese. You're 4-6.
Yeah.
You got half a roster. Yes, I am 1 game out of a playoff spot. That's what the NFL wants you to think. They expand the playoffs and make everybody crappy, so these crappy teams still think they have a chance. Don't take the cheese. Again, how much different would you be if it was Ritter? And again, I ask these questions. I've said a zillion times, Nick, questions are easy, answers are hard. I'd like to find out. I really would. They may already know, for as much as you can. Like I said, it's got to be obvious one way or the other, or they're just, I've seen some people say, oh, they don't want Ritter out there behind this offensive line. Offensive line isn't that bad. Marcus Mariota's not taking a bunch of shots. He's not standing back there and getting killed for the most part. The offensive line is improved enough that they can be competent enough that I'd feel okay putting a first-year quarterback back there. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's not the offensive line. To me, this is, we are trying to win they're living in the moment right now, the way they're playing, which is okay. That's okay. If they think they've got a chance, they think Mariota is the better option. Okay. Until it's not, which against the Bears, that could be the end of this. 4-7, you're not living in the moment anymore. You're not.
Yeah, especially with Tampa seeming to maybe get some things figured out there. So going to be an evaluation period, but I mean, really, it's hard for this Falcons team to compete. You're competing with both hands tied behind your back and one of the probably least talented personnel defenses in the entire NFL. So the fact that you're even 4 wins in, I mean, Scott, I think, predicted 3 or 4 wins for the whole season.
I either said 2-15 or 3-14.
So definitely outpacing what your expectations were. Credit to the staff here, and excited to see what they're unshackled a bit by the dead cap. Still going to have some. I think the Deion Jones trade is going to have a little bit of dead cap on it still. But, I mean, the Julio Jones and the Matt Ryans are going to make it a very
The Deion Jones one should be offset by the cap savings they got this year when they redid his contract. Yeah. So that one should be neutral. He's going to have a dead cap number, but their salary cap will go up next year. So it should be offset is the only reason that they did that. Otherwise, it didn't make any sense at all to do that. John Pope, we could be 8-2 if Mariota didn't turn the ball over, though. There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts that come in game after game after game, where the other team is missing plays too. We tend to forget that as fans. It's like, oh man, if he didn't drop this ball or if he didn't fumble there, well, what about their players? What about the 3 plays they didn't make? At the end of the day, the table's the table, the standings are the standings. You're 4-6. You overachieved at 7-10 last year. Now, before we get out of here, I want to talk about a prediction. You're looking at the Atlanta Falcons have the worst passing defense again in the NFL, but that doesn't really scare you so much in this game, does it?
No, not so much. I guess the big issue here is the Falcons is you need to play. You can't give up the big play. The Bears right now offense, because of what Justin Fields does, there are broken plays on the back end, and then you see Cole Kmet 30 yards down the field on the other sideline. That is, there's nobody within a county mile of him. So you got to make sure that you're disciplined and keeping your assignments and not letting the plays extend far beyond, the 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 kind of thing, which Fields can do. So it's not going to be the shredded, consistent drop back pass game, I think, but they can throw a couple haymakers there and, 80-yard touchdown can completely change the complexion of the game. And then they can salt it away with the run game on top of it, which that's the difference between the Broncos and the Bears right now. Broncos can get those explosive pass plays, but then they run and bust their head in the wall 3 times and punt the next time. But yeah, no, you're not as worried about the pass game, especially with the cornerbacks here. The big thing about the cornerbacks is everybody's got a tackle, and that's always a concern in the open field with backup cornerbacks.
The defense for the Bears is bad. Their rush defense is bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th worst rushing defense. That bodes well for the Atlanta Falcons. If I can run through you, if the Falcons can run the ball, they're going to dictate the game. I like their chances of being able to do this. I can see a game similar to the Detroit Lions, where Justin Fields plays well, gets his numbers, and they score a lot of points, and it's 26-24 birds. This is the 3rd game and the first non-Panthers game they've been favored. I do like the Falcons in this one based on the matchup, where you can commit bodies to the run to stop the run, at least slow to run down. If you've got a bad passing defense, you're just in trouble. I can slow the run, make Justin Fields beat you with his arm. He'll get some of his with the scrambling, but let him get 5. Don't let him get 50. John Pope has a question. He says, here's a random question. Why the Falcons cut Anthony Rush? I see a direct correlation between cutting him and the rushing defense getting worse. Now, I wonder, it's hard to tell because they give up so many yards through the air that why should I run the ball? Their rush defense, I don't remember the last time the rush defense was good. Anthony Rush was kind of a one-trick pony. He was heavy, which the Falcons needed at the time, but he was very immobile laterally. So in that 3-4, he was a plug, but he wasn't very effective because his lateral movement was so bad, and frankly, he didn't go forward that well. He just kind of stood there and took up space, which is okay as a 3-4 nose guard. Mm-hmm. They brought in Abdullah Anderson, who's played really well. Timmy Horn is someone else they kept, and there was one more. I want to say there was one more player that they brought in who's playing that other spot in the middle, because and then the other part of this, for a rotation spot, Taquan Graham's been phenomenal. I love the way, second-year player out of Texas, 4th or 5th round draft pick. He's been, for me, the biggest story of the season. One of the reasons I mentioned 2-15 or 3-14 this season was because the defensive line personnel didn't really improve and the offensive line personnel didn't really improve. Eli Wilkinson's been really good when he's been playing. Caleb McGarry has taken a step forward. Taquan Graham has been really, really good next to Grady Jarrett. And that, to me, is the biggest reason this team has improved.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, also you have much better bodies at the edge rush position, where that makes a massive difference. I
expected that, though. That one, it couldn't get any worse.
Yeah.
I expected that to improve. I didn't expect Graham to make this leap. I didn't expect Eli Wilkinson to be that much better than what we had last year, and I really didn't expect Caleb McGarry to take a big step forward either.
100%.
Those were all good surprises this season.
Yep. No doubt about that. And got to start hitting on some of those guys late and developing, so that way you can dig yourself out of this hole. I mean, what is it? Dean Peace said the Falcons haven't had a top 10 defense in 25 years or something.
30 years. Went to the Super Bowl, probably.
Probably. Michael Ronquillo coming in here before we start to wrap on up, saying, great show today, Scott and Nick on Falcons Podcast. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your day, Michael. We'll see you tonight. It'll be Scott and I again over on the Mile High Insiders for breakfast, because Luke has, I think his daughter has a choral performance. So got to take care of those things.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody joining us today. If you are watching after the fact, thanks for listening at the Falcons Podcast at falconspodcast.com. You can come and check and see where you can watch on Spotify, listen on Spotify, Apple, all the different places, just falconspodcast.com. So thanks everybody for being here today. Like Nick said, we will be on Mile High Huddle tonight talking Broncos and Raiders. That all of a sudden becomes an interesting game. Does the loser of that game have a job on Monday? We'll dive into that. And as Nick likes to say, choose compassion and choose kindness. As I like to say, we'll see you next time.